You are listening now to the Spirituality Now podcast, the show that is solely focused on practical spirituality, leadership, and mindset skills with the aim and purpose of supporting you master your life. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I'm so excited that we're on YouTube now. I kind of forget sometimes, I'm going to get ready for the podcast and I'm like, and my team is like, Yvonne, makeup, Yvonne, hair. I'm like, okay. So we're on YouTube. This is Yvonne de la Flor, your host at the Spirituality Now podcast. And I'm really, really excited about this interview today because not only we just watched one of the creations of this incredible man, artist, director. I also found out while watching the film and reading and learning about him that he also does translation of we will talk about it, the editing or the transcription of the words and all of that. But I'm very excited because I think that the topic today, regardless that we're going to be talking about a film, a very special film that it really touched my heart. And I can remind that even though we're the Spirituality Now podcast, we bring topics into our podcast of leadership, of mindset, of practical spirituality, of hands-on that can be in the body. That's why I loved the film we're going to talk about today and the journey of the director, and I'm super excited. So just remember that we're a philanthropic-based podcast. In YouTube, follow us, click the bell. We're so new in YouTube. I used to be in YouTube many years ago, and I just didn't nurture that channel, so I'm back. And so help us by liking it, sharing it. We are philanthropic, so you don't have advertisement and you get the pure wisdom of our guests for you. And if you are only in audio, we're everywhere where podcasts are, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, wherever you go, you just tell spirituality, play the Spirituality Now podcast, and we will be there. So help us by that. So let me introduce you my guest. My guest today, he was born and raised in Japan. So konnichiwa to all. I have great friends in Japan, especially tea masters. I love the culture. I love the reverence and the respect in there. And you correct me, please, director, if it's Yujiro Seki. Yes?
Yujiro. But in Spanish, people say Yujiro. So whichever you prefer.
Oh, but I like to say, how do you say Yujiro?
Yeah, Yujiro is a Spanish, right? Spanish version, because J is a Jota, so that's why Yujiro.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk in Spanish too. Yujiro Seki, who discovered his passion for filmmaking when he was in high school, and through making his first feature film, Sokonashi Deka. Yes, I need to learn Japanese. This is so, exciting. The Enigmatic Detective. He became enamored with imaginative possibilities of cinema and vowed to master the art through study this in the United States. Despite the fact that starting a new life in a new country was a challenge in itself, Seki, yes, I want to say your name correct. Seki earned a bachelor's degree in film from the University of California, Berkeley, and completed a short film, Sashimi Taco. That I can pronounce that. Taco and sashimi is a perfect combination for his senior honors thesis. Following his graduation, director Seki moved to Los Angeles to work as a director of the video department of Intermarket Design and as a film instructor at the Montecito Fine Arts College of Design. Wow, I used to live in Montecito, California. After attaining permanent U.S. residence, director Seki began studying full-time in the cinematography program at UCLA Extension. Upon graduating from that program, he embarked on the journey of making his feature documentary project. And my heart rejoices when I say this. Listen to the name, Carving the Divine. Just the name, director, is such a journey in itself. And I'm going to talk about it in a moment. And it has become the official selection for 29 film festivals, showing a total of 22 countries, winning awards at 12 festivals worldwide, such as winning the Best Director Award, bravo, of a foreign language documentary at World Cinema in Milan, and premiering at the famous Raindance Film Festival in London. And we're going to talk about the documentary. We're going to talk about the journey of the director and what does carving the divine means, not only for the film. Director Seki, you know what happened to me when I watched your film? I couldn't stop thinking that I was being carved by the divine myself. It was so profound. And that's why I want to invite you here, because I said, this is not only a film, this is an invitation for people. And we'll talk about it into how are they being carved in their lives by the divine itself. So let's start with some questions, because I'm talking a lot of excitement. And I do always use the excuse that I'm Mexican. But director, you shared that you started this journey in teenage years, but where were you begin to be carved by the divine into this love for filmmaking, into this communication that awakens humanity into seeing a little bit more that we don't often see? When did that really begin?
Well, it didn't really begin long recently or a long time ago or anything like that. Maybe I was meant to make this film, but I didn't know anything about it, because when I was little, I was surrounded by Buddhist objects like incense, tablet, statues, and furniture, altar, because my father is a Buddhist altar maker. It was a family business. So I didn't think anything of it. It was just, something that my family did or still does. And my father took me to many places, such as the temples, because my father had a relationship with a priest and something like that. But I just didn't think anything of it. Fast forwarding, when I was in high school, I fell in love with the process of the cinema. Yes, because I was doing acting with my friends. And first, when I made a film about the detective, it was a detective comedy, my first film. It's just it was just like a teenage things to do. So you were interested in detective, and found out about the cinema and filmmaking, and you think, oh, this is pretty cool. So that's how I started the journey of filmmaking. But I didn't really think about making film like a Carving the Divine back then. To make that, there's a more story. Going to the United States, studying cinema, going to university, and meeting people from different culture. And for the first time in my life, I realized the environment that I grew up in was somewhat special. And I started working in Los Angeles as a director of a video department. And frankly, it was just making videos for business. There was nothing wrong with making videos about business. It pay the bill. But I realized that's not the reason that I started making a film. I started making a film for inspiring people. And I decided to leave my work, and I just wanted to make at least once in a lifetime only one work that means something to me, and means to my people, and means to the world. That's how I started making Carving the Divine.
That moves my heart. When you are sharing this, just the little thing that you just shared, that is not little. Of you are doing film, you're doing videos that is paying the bills, but is not giving the fulfillment of the soul. And how many people I've witnessed, hundreds of people losing their dreams or sacrificing their dreams for a symbol of dollars, instead of following the passion of their soul or the call. And I love how you said that maybe you were meant to do this. So I have a question before we just journey into carving our way through this podcast. Why or how did that name, it's like so extraordinary, just the name, Carving the Divine, where did that came from?
Tagliando lo Divino, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was something that we decided along the way of making the film. Actually, when we almost capture all the footage, me and somebody who supported me through making this film, we had a discussion, and one day we just came up with this title. We thought something like the Chisel Master of the East, but we thought that this is a little too cliche, right? So in the end, we had like 4 or 5 options, and we thought carving a divine would be the best one. So yes.
I love it because, I love that, usually I've written some books, and I know that the artists and writers, the ones that create such beautiful pieces that touches our soul, they usually receive the name at last or in the middle of the path. And I think I'm going to be emphasizing this. You found the name through carving the divine. You were carving this film. In a way, you were creating a beautiful sculpture, which became a film, and kind of following the legacy of your family of building an altar, but now filmmaking, that now we can attend to the monastery of film, right? For me, that was my experience with your film. It was entering like a monastery. Now it's through the screen, but I can enter into this ancient trade and ancient blessing of other human beings carving the divine and carving the divine in themselves. So when your father was creating altars, when was the moment that you were in LA and you were in the industry and making money? When is the moment that you realized, wow, my environment was really special? The legacy that I have is such an important legacy for the world. So what did happen? What happened to your soul or to your heart when you discovered, wow, my father actually was carving the divine? I mean,
well, I don't recall any particular moment, but the accumulation of many things, such as talking to somebody like you, somebody from a different culture, right? So I went to California, and I started studying English, and I saw whole new different people, which I didn't know anything about when I was in Japan. They speak different language, right? Who are those people? Oh, those people, Mexican people. Oh, I didn't know. So let me get to know Mexican people. The experience like that all the time that I had when I was in the United States, which I couldn't have when I was in Japan. And through learning about their culture, because I was very curious, what are they? What is mariachi, right? So, the things like that. Then slowly I realized, oh, maybe I have something that nobody else has in this country, which people find it very interesting. Just like I think it's interesting to learn different culture. So, that's one of the reasons. Yes, of course. Yes.
I love that because, that's one of I believe this is one of the signature expressions of the soul, natural wonder and genuine curiosity that is not only a curiosity of like, there's a lot of people that are curious, but deluded, right? Curious about like Mado Moore speaks about the correct practice, right? I feel curiosity has to also be used correctly of like wondering, getting to meet people like you say. And I think that opens up the world and that gives our soul a deeper expansion for us to do our life mission or our life missions or assignments. So when I was watching the film, I want people to watch it, right? But it felt more than a movie. I love the fact that the emphasis of teacher disciple, it's so palpable to me, the importance of not only carving the divine and these incredible sculptures that for me, some of those sculptures are more alive than some humans. I could see their eyes opening up. I was like, now I have a deep reverence now. I have beautiful Buddha statues here in my home and gifts that I have received from many cultures. And now that I look at them, I really look at them. Before it was a decoration or a deity on an altar. now it became part of the altar of my life. So talk to us about what you experience in filming and directing, and highlighting this student teacher relationship, and why do you find it important?
Well, because in the 21st century, first of all, we don't have that kind of a concept like a discipline. So, everything is a fast and furious. You see everything on internet, Instagram, TikTok, and, we don't appreciate what it takes to become a master of anything. So that's something that's very important for the modern people. But what's important? Another important thing here is really its tradition has been transmitted for 1,400 years. What's that supposed to mean? 1,400 years? We cannot even imagine where to even start, right? So many governments rose and fell, and many generations have passed. Yet this tradition has been in Japan for 1,400 years. Very quiet, but it's always there. There must be a need for it. So this tradition is important because it's, as you said, you're a very spiritual person, I can tell. It speaks to our spirituality, right? So, we say, well, we don't need a spirituality. We just, we needed just a modern thing like TVs and the cell phones, and what we can see is what it is. We don't care about the spirituality. We are atheists. Some people, say something like that. But soon we realize this kind of a life is a very empty life. Very difficult life if we only focus on materiality of things. And, people throughout the ages, they know that, intuitively or consciously. Some people know it consciously, some people know it intuitively. Yet it's there, But what we gonna do when our loved one passed away? What we gonna do when we get sick and ill? When we lose our legs? Well, maybe you have a breakup with your boyfriend or something, in a smaller level. So, we suffer, right? That's the basic concept of Buddhism. We suffer, how we overcome the suffering in life. And statues are a tool. And those people who make those statues, they're making those tools. And they must be perfect. You cannot make mediocre work. That's why, one of the reasons why it's very strict, as you say in the film. And to transmit such a skill set and mentality, you have to follow this difficult tradition.
Yes.
Only through that, you can perfect or become a master of things. So to answer your question, in the 21st century, some people say this is too much. This is abuse. This is a power harassment. But you cannot have the best of both worlds. Beautifully crafted spiritual statues cannot be made without searching for perfection. So that's one of the things that you see in the film.
I love that. I treasure master-disciple relationship. I have had so many teachers, mindset, spiritual leadership, and I always honor my mentors. Now, you come from this the Buddhist tradition, and I practice for many years now the Shaolin culture tradition, or Confucianism, also Buddhism. But I love the power that the film has to remind us how important is discipline, discipleship, and what a great treasure to have a master, a mentor that actually doesn't want us to do it however it comes. The world is so invaded by sameness right now. We have the social media, we have immediate gratification every day. It's an addiction. We're getting dopamine hits in our brain with everything that is easy, but the soul is not being nourished and nurtured. That's why, what I notice, Director Suki, that there's a rise right now in this. A lot of people, and I have pain when in your film, I saw the great teachers struggle to keep the tradition going. I feel the pain sometimes of keeping the tradition of tea ceremony going, of a disciple-teacher relationship going, because I know that those traditions are what keeps the world sane and thriving and evolving. But I see something happening, Director, and maybe you will be able to see it too, because you are a visionary and you can see more than many of us, because that's your mission. But I see an opening. I see people more interested in Tai Chi, in Qigong, in Zen. Buddhism suddenly is no longer a religion, because it is not a religion. It's an education system for the soul. It's like Maido Moore says, an activity, right? It's something that we act upon it. And your film is coming, and unless we're going to talk about how long it took you, because some people say it's so easy probably for him to do it. It probably took him a year, and it took you even 11 years to create this film. But I feel that there's an opening right now, because there's a lot of thirst in humanity, and they need to be carved again by the divine. So tell us a little bit about, it took you 11 years. Why?
First of all, I must say you're a very eloquent person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You describe things very clearly, and you are on the spot. I cannot agree any more than that. So first of all, this film is special, not because I made it. I went way past that. Because when you start making a film, right? Many people are like, any art, oh, I want to express myself, right? I have these feelings that I have to get it out to the world. I don't know any other way to express myself other than making art. I'm an artist, right? So, that's the kind of mentality many people have when we start the art, right? And they have a rightfully think that way. Art is a very spiritual, fulfilling process. And, expressing yourself is a beautiful thing. So, that's kind of mentality that I had when I first started making a film. When I showed the film, my first film, detective film, to my friends, in high school, right? We had a little get-together screening event, and everybody laughed. And I felt empowered. Oh, wow, this is really cool. I want to make a film, right? But, when I started making Carving the Divine, I had this big vision of, this, I'm going to show people this 1,400-year-old tradition, right? This is going to be great, right? And as I do it, I started hating the process that I love. I love the filmmaking so much, but I hate making this film. That's the level you gotta get to in order to make something different, other than just to making myself happy. Because I gotta go out there and convince somebody like you to like this film. We have no attachment, right? We don't know each other. We didn't know each other. We know now. And the people that I have no idea, that I never met, message me all the time about the film. I was like, oh, I like this film. Oh, thank you so much, right? And, I cannot just make my mom and dad happy. I got to make everybody else that I don't know happy. So that's a challenge of itself. And to get back to, art as self-expression, I move way past that, because I just feel, oh my gosh, I made something and everybody else thinks it's great. I don't know if it's great or not, because I've watched it so many times that I cannot have that divine experience that people are talking about. To me, it's just a burden on my shoulder. And I wish I could leave and say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. But, people tell me that, well, this is great, dude. This is like, really fulfilling to my soul. And I was like, well, I guess I got to keep going with it. That's the stage that I'm at. So I feel there's a bigger purpose to what I'm doing, not just because I want to satisfy my ego by telling people that I'm great. I don't care. I mean, people watch this film, and some people might think about me, oh, who is the director? But some people just watch it as a sure enjoyment of it or sure experience of it, and that's fine. And if I die and nobody remembers about me, and the film remains, and do something good to other people, I mean, that would fulfill the purpose of my life. I really don't care if people remember about me or not. So that's the stage that I'm at right now.
What you're sharing is so important. I did a film only once. Well, I did a couple of little things as a producer, not director and everything. And I saw, in the team, there were people that really wanted their name on their screen. It was about them, their recognition, what they could sell. And I felt the difference of what you are talking right now. And I really pay tribute to your soul for listening to something that has you be so truthful right now. This is one of the most truthful things I've heard on the podcast, which is I hated the process. I have a mentor, Director Seki, that he used to be the trainer, the mindset trainer of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. His name is Tim Grover. I speak about him all of the time in my podcast because he's my beloved teacher. But he always speaks about that. He's like, you don't have to love the process, you got to get to the end goal. And most of the times you are going to hate it. So it's a cliche when people say, you just got to love the process. No, I don't love it. I don't love the suffering, the delusion. I got to do all these sutras, these mantras, these practices, this climbing the mountains, this coming down the mountain. I mean, this is the world of suffering and delusion, and it's not fun sometimes, or most of the times, right? There are glances of divinity, but so I wanted to just highlight that. The second thing you said is like you have to convince people like me to buy it. Let me tell you, or to watch your film. For me, it was the name of the film. I was not even watching it. I was already in the film. Just again, carving the divine is such a powerful mantra, right? Like a sutra, like a words of power. And I haven't stopped thinking of how am I being carved by the divine. You said that, maybe people lose their legs. I lost an arm in a car accident, Director. And I have it. I picked it back from a backseat of the car. I was dead, had the breakups, all the things that you said. But I couldn't stop thinking on all of these situations, how a seashell of God was carving me into this experience, was carving me enough to meet you. I'm just in incredible awe. And the same, I watched your interview with Mado Moore, and that touched my heart so much. I don't know why, but it was very deeply. And again, so I just wanted to mention that. So your film, the film, since it's like, I love that you are detached from, you're doing this. I think this mission is doing you, right? Instead of you choosing it, it chose you and you are serving it. But you said about this is a 1400 year wood carving tradition. Why do you think that? I mean, I have never thought about it. I have always enjoyed in temples, the sculptors are, and it was recently in Zen studies that I understood that the deity, the statues, are for us to emulate the characteristics, the mudras, the position, to aspire to become what we are admiring, right? Or what we're seeing. But I have never heard of this before. You brought me and your team brought us into awareness that this existed. So why do you think it's important to preserve this 1400-year-old culture of Buddhist wood carving tradition? Why do you think it's important for all of us and I'm going to include everyone in humanity, or for some of us to preserve this culture?
Well, because we cannot leave materiality alone, first of all. I mean, if materiality is only makes us happy or gratify our life, I think we should just have a party all the time, right? Like, your fiesta all the time, drinking all the time, and, forget about tomorrow, just enjoy.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo all the time, So, yeah, maybe I'm talking extreme, but I think there are a lot of distractions.
Yes.
And it's okay to engage in distractions. Life offers that distraction. How sometimes it's nice to have a good time and just enjoy the moment. That's wonderful. But I think many people around the world, when they engage in such activities, parties, and having a nice car and a house, beautiful house, that's wonderful. People should have that if they can pursue it. But there's something missing. Why we are here? Why we are born? Why we suffer so much when we live? Oh, let's just have a party. We distract ourselves. And we just say, everything's going to be okay. We are friends. We are family. But again, friends might betray you. Friends might die. Your family might die. And what's the purpose of our life? Things like that, people question, but people don't want to answer. We avoid. And statues are like a mirror, right? That's one of the interpretations of ourselves.
Wow.
And to really confront ourselves, sometimes we need tools.
Wow, this is so powerful. I'm getting to. I'm entering like meditative state. Just imagining how powerful this practice is. And I know I have a lot of followers and friends of mine that are Christians, that always tell me, "Oh, why are you at a monastery? Why are you in a picture with a statue of a Buddha?" If they will open up their mind a little bit, just considering the possibility that these are tools. I love how you said it, and I think Mado Moore speaks about it. They are tools of personal work, of self-cultivation, and again, of self-carving ourselves into the divine within us, right? Like releasing, I don't remember who was it, I think it was Michelangelo, like he was carving the rock until he released the angel that was trapped inside the rock. And that's what we're doing. That's what these betrayals do. That's what suffering does. That's what all of these delusions and these samsara and the maras, the delusions of devils, demons, all of this fantasy land does. It literally, until we wake up, right? It will keep going after it until we really open up and release the divine within us. It's my experience. So, director, you did it. The film is translated in how many languages? Can we speak about a little bit?
Sure. I have so for transcriptions of more than 20 different languages, and I'm trying to release that sometime, but it's taking a long time because according to the experience that I have with this film, showing it to different parts of the world, it works everywhere. It just doesn't matter if you show it in Mexico or United States or Europe or Africa. There's a human experience there. Yeah. So to get back to your earlier question that I didn't answer to you fully, why it took so long to make it. First of all, because I'm caring more about your experience than my experience.
I love
when they made this film, try to put together this film. So many documentaries nowadays It's about forcing director's point of view to other people. Does it make sense? So, if you are passionate about something like a racism or like environmental issue or whatever that you're very passionate about, women's right or whatever. So there are those social issues you want to promote to the world. So even though you might have a good intention, the film have a tendency to be biased. It's like a college essay. You have an introduction, you have a body and the end. And in the introduction, you have a thesis. You tell other people your point of view, and you throughout the film you try to convince people your point of view is right and the other point of view is wrong. So while this film has a place of its own, it doesn't let the audience to think and feel it for yourself. That's the thing. So to make this kind of film, as a filmmaker, in my whole life, it is easier to make something like a Cognitive Design, because Cognitive Design lets you think how to think and what to think. So that's why every time when I talk to people tell me completely different things. They reflect upon their own life. I always say, they confront themselves. So to make this kind of a film, it just doesn't happen overnight. So people often tell me, what are you going to make next, right? I hate this question. Like, I spent 11 years and you're going through all the hell to make this film and promote it, and you want me to make another one? And people expect me to make the same level of the film as Cognitive Design, which is going to be very difficult to surpass.
Director, let me tell you something. I love that. And I really pay tribute that you took the time. And right now, some people quit when they don't see the results in a year. They quit when they don't get it in 3 months. And now we have the AI that you can tell, build me a website, build me a sale. But it lacks soul. Again, the people like that carve the divine, that do genuine film, that are saint teachers, that are really protecting the legacy of our ancestors for the benefit of the growth and evolution of humanity. I think they will never perish. We just got to be protective of them. We just got to have filial piety to our mentors, to our fathers, to the ones that did the work for us too. I mean, we're still doing the work, but they did far much more work. But I want to tell you something. When you are asked, when are you going to do the next and to surpass? My teacher, Tim Grover, he wrote a book called Relentless. It went all over the world. And it took him, I believe, 11 to 15 years after that to write a second book. And their fear, the co-author, Shari Wen, said, it was going to be really hard to write a book like Relentless. And they wrote a book many years afterwards, right? It took them 20 years to write the first book or something, and then after the movie's released, other 20 or other 15 or other 11 years to write a second book, and the second book is called Winning, and it went wild, right? But again, there is this particular carving. I'm gonna keep using that word. That I love that you said you did this film for the experience of others, not for you to receive the applause. I actually pay tribute to that, because the people that are after love, approval, and appreciation, it's about you, right? It's about them. And true spirituality or true self-realization, self-cultivation, Zen practices, Buddhism, whatever it is that will help you be a better human, to hopefully be a better service to others, the I goes away. That's my pursuit. How can I carve the I out of the experience? That's a pursuit of my practice. So I really feel that the film has that access, and I feel what you said, that many people are going to have different experiences, because the stage of our carving in our lives is in different stages. I went fully into, now I see dragon statues, I see everything, and I'm like, oh, I want to be carved by that, right? but it's beautiful. And I love that you have it in Spanish and in so many languages. I'm going to make sure to everyone that is listening that we're going to put a link to the film. We're going to put a link to the website. We're going to mention what are the blogs. You have great blogs. We just shared one in Spanish to our Latin American community. And wow, so what would be, I know, I could talk to you for hours about, and I could ask you about each sculptor and what has been your experience. And I love that for you, it's like, for me, I had to do this job, and everybody's having the awakening experience. And I heard Mr. Mado Moore saying that he was really moved also with your film in your YouTube interview with him. And so, what would be one of the many blessings that you would like Carving the Divine to offer humanity, besides the beautiful film, besides the beautiful legacy that we gotta protect? I feel a duty to protect it, so I'm gonna keep sharing your film because I wanna protect that tradition now, right? But what would be one of the blessings that you would like humanity to receive with Carving the Divine?
Well, as I said, the self-discovery.
Oh, I love that.
That's because as you said, right? I go away. You say it's a very profound thing. I go away because what's making us suffer is I. But in the grand scheme of things, I is not important. It's very difficult to convince people by language alone, right? I think because we are living in a culture that I is so important, especially if you live in the American culture, individualist pursuit of happiness. That's great and everything, I mean, I don't deny that tradition, because we are born and we have a right to pursue our happiness. But in the end, we have to face our mortality, right? Maybe we were young and powerful and we are not afraid of anything, when we are like energetic, but slowly our body will decay and we have to, think about, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to us? And many different people have different answers from different traditions. I would not ever deny or disrespect from of people of different culture, different tradition, different religious traditions. They are there for a reason. But as you said, one of the things that really great about the Eastern spiritual tradition is I is not important. What is I? This thing called I,
That's so beautiful. That's the blessing, of self-discovery. And for self-discovery, we gotta self-study, and for self-study, we got to, carve ourselves into having no eye. Opening our inner eye and shutting down the eye, right? I mean, it's a challenge, director, and we're almost done because I'm taking a lot of your time, but it's a challenge. We're in a culture right now of social media where self-love, self-care, I am important, my boundaries, my experience. I'm going to tell you something on my life, and then we'll close with your movie. It reminded me something. My experience of my life, I haven't been happier when I do self-love. I actually suffer more. It's when I serve others, when I can bring this podcast free for people, when this I that is focusing on carving itself out of the picture is at the service of others. It's when I paradoxically feels the best, more fulfilled. And I think the movie, Carving the Divine, has this potential of awakening people into the focus of fulfillment instead of success. Success is for the I, fulfillment is for all mankind. So, Director Suki, thank you so much for being here. This is your podcast. Whenever you want to come, I will invite you, open doors for you. Very quickly, I want to share to the audience that you have an incredible website. I love there's a segment in his website that there's a study guide, everyone, where they classify Buddhist deities. If you wanna check, they have a discussion group, they have a blog, they have a TV show. I mean, you're so prolific. They have all the reviews, the festivals, and the awards that I don't mention them here because this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 60, 70. They have the trailers and they have also a way, and this is big. Our community is big on this. How can they support? And we're going to make sure to put the link. There is a link in the website where it says support. You can support. You can support by sharing. You can support by purchasing the film. You can support by bringing it to the community. There's manifold ways to support. And so thank you, Director. Anything else that you would like to share before we close?
Thank you so much, Yvonne, for having me. Actually, I'm more impressed with you than anything else today. How self-actualized you are. And, you are a lot better than I am, really. I'm very impressed. So, it's not a comparison or competition, but it's my compliment to you because you are doing it for a reason. Really, you are doing it for not your self-fulfillment, for serving others. And as you said, when you serve others, I disappear. Yes. And that's, I think, one of the highest form of self-realization. And it's very difficult to get to. And I have a lot to learn for myself as well.
Oh, well, me too. And so thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast. Please share it. Please subscribe. Please leave us your comments. We'll make sure they reach the director. And thank you again. And watch, please, with your life, with your mind, with your heart, Carving the Divine. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you prefer to listen to your podcast. Make sure to check the links to everything we mentioned in this episode. For more news, future or past episodes, or for any other inquiry, please visit our website at delaflorteachings.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast.